Let me start by saying we hate Elon. There you go. Did I get enough haters in to watch this to discuss who you are? I hope so because I brought in good guy here, James Stephenson. He cannot underscore enough to discuss the people who despise all things Tesla and why, because that's a whole industry, you see. So the first thing is we've got some big news. We've got some big names to unmask. No, we don't, because that's not a thing, and we're not going to do it, and you shouldn't do it. Why shouldn't we do it?
Because it's wrong. It is morally wrong to dox somebody who has chosen to be anonymous online. It ought to be everybody's right to be anonymous online if they choose to be. And it's wrong to dox people. And in addition to that, on Twitter, if you dox people, they can suspend your account. So if you don't want your account suspended, don't dox people.
And if I don't like the fact that the person I'm engaging with is anonymous, I am free to disengage. That is that is allowed. I don't know if you've looked at the terms of service, but I'm allowed to not respond. I don't think some people know that. I think there are people who are like, well, it's on my timeline. I have to engage. It feels that way.
Sure. Yeah,
Well,
well, some anonymous accounts get a whole lot of traction behind them. So one account that was doxxed, I don't remember by who, was Tesla Charts. We talked about him in
oh,
our other video. People know the name. I know the name of the person behind that account. I'm not going to repeat it in this video. But yeah, some anonymous accounts get huge followings, and then it becomes harder not to respond to them when so many people will be misled by their lies and mistruths if they aren't countered by somebody who has the facts straight, telling people what's really going on. So I interact with anonymous accounts all the time because I don't want unsuspecting people who don't follow the topics being discussed to misunderstand the situation or walk away believing lies.
and that's the thing. As I've had people say, why are you giving any attention to this at all? And the answer is the alternative is letting lies stand unchallenged and unchecked. And I think that's slightly worse. So it's unfortunate. It deserves to be mentioned that if they are anonymous, that you can point that out. It's great that they'll use real names, though. Uh, so why are so many of the Q anonymous? I mean, if this is good analysis, I've got good analysis. Why wouldn't you put your name on it?
Yeah, there is a disparity between the number of people in the Tesla Q camp who are anonymous versus the number of people in the Tesla Bull camp who are anonymous, which there are plenty of, right? There's a lot of anonymous Tesla accounts for perfectly good reasons, right? Um, but yeah, on the Tesla Q side, I think in some cases it's because they know that they have an obvious conflict of interest that causes them to dislike Tesla for whatever reason. Maybe they work for the fossil fuel industry. Maybe they work for Legacy Auto. Maybe they work for a dealership. Tesla doesn't have dealerships, right? So plenty of good reasons why people could be anti-Elon or anti-Tesla and not want to associate their analysis, such as it is, with their own name. The other good reason, the one that I applied to Brad Munkin in particular, is he can be wrong as often as he wants to be and never suffer any consequences personally because nobody can stop him in real life, IRL, and say, hey, why do you publish lies all the time to the internet? He doesn't have to worry about dealing with those consequences because nobody knows who the real person behind that account is.
Well, I've asked a lot of the skeptics for their production targets, their price targets, any of those things. And especially on production targets where we've got a looming date and we know when it's going to happen, I would say, well, my number is this. And they say, oh, that's much too, that's the wrong number. Of course, it's the wrong number. What's the right number? I don't do projections. Oh, that's very lazy. So you brought that up. Who are what kinds of people could these be? I mean, you said you mentioned a few industries. We could mention a whole bunch more. There are very few industries in the Fortune 500 that don't stand to face some kind of disruption from Elon or one of his many companies. Apart from that, I mean, it could be there are people who just hate him because he inherited all that money from his still living parents.
Oh, sure. Yeah. All that apartheid money or all that
Yeah,
emerald mine money.
yeah,
If you believe those stories, go check out the full research done by J. Arnold. I made a video about that a long time ago. But yeah, you brought to mind John Bryant, who for 5 years now has been tweeting that Tesla is 90% overvalued. It's his favorite number. No matter what Tesla's market cap is, he says it's 90% overvalued with precision. And then I asked him for his valuation model that he used to determine what the valuation of Tesla is, and then compared against the current stock price to see that it was 90% overvalued. And he said he doesn't have a valuation model. One wonders then how he could have arrived at the conclusion that Tesla is 90% overvalued at all points in time.
that does feel like a very specific number for a that's not even a guesstimate. That's just a it's a butt fact. And I say that because he pulled it straight out of his ass.
Well, you see a lot of that, and it doesn't take asking that many questions to realize that oh, that's an empty facade. There's nothing behind that claim at all.
There are people on whom things like this work. I'll tell you, in 2019, when I was new to investing in Tesla, when I first put money in, I would follow all the Q arguments because I wanted to know what they were. I wanted to study them for myself and determine. They would say, "Oh, Shanghai's a mud field." And I'd say, "No, I'm watching the footage every week." And even though I wasn't making videos yet, I was already counting squares and estimating when I thought it would be finished. And it was very exciting to watch. And if this was just for show, it felt like a pretty elaborate production because they're actually putting up walls and ceilings, and it's seemed like an excessive way to commit fraud. If you're actually, would it be easier to just actually, like Mitchell and Webb, uh, faking the moon landing? Well, we'll still have to build the massive rocket because otherwise people will say, "How'd you get there?" And we'll say, "The massive rocket." Yeah, I feel yeah, maybe we'll save money on catering if we film it on location. So, which is a good way
Funny.
to which is a good way to fake the moon landing.
Yeah, the whole Mudfield debacle, that was very funny, and you could quickly unmask the expertise behind the Tesla Q accounts, claiming that they understood construction so well when they would look at photographs from the Mudfield on opening day, the ribbon cutting ceremony for the groundbreaking or whatever it was, with the pile drivers lined up in the field, because where Giga Shanghai stands today was a watermelon field previously. So you have to drive piles in to bedrock so that you can construct on top of it. You know this stuff better than anybody knows it. And they would say, why do they have cranes out already? It's not time for the cranes. It's like,
Oh,
folks, those are not cranes. But it would get retweeted and quote tweeted and posted all over Tesla Qville. Shortville said it's obviously fake because it's not time to go vertical with cranes yet.
funny. I didn't catch that one at the time. So the whole Pudong district is a marshy delta. It's real soft. It's real soft, low lying, and you can see how low lying it is because just about a mile away is the coastline, and they've got a pretty substantial seawall there. So that's crazy. And I should mention that I have an additional +1 ticket that is available for my factory tour of Fremont on March 19th. And Grant Belden has asked if he may join me, and he is considering it, and I am considering it. And he had said that he would, as a condition, require that I not ambush and unmask him. And I said that if I accept that offer, I would do that, because it's like on Looney Tunes at the end of the day when the fox and the chicken, the hound, whatever, punch out and say, "See you tomorrow, Clyde." It's and I don't want crazies causing him harm. I would
Right.
prefer if people like that had their reputation follow them, so that in the future, if he's ever asked to speak at a conference on something else, people can say, "Isn't this the guy who spent years being wrong about another topic?" But that's not my choice.
Right, yeah, there ought to be an option for people to remain anonymous online for plenty of good reasons. One of those is if you're, an executive with a corporation, maybe you don't want your name associated with your views on some unrelated company, right? There's probably not a lot of upside in doing it that way. So I think
Yeah.
Grant Belden has stated previously that that's the reason why he wants to remain anonymous, is
Oh,
because he has a big boy job. Uh, and
yeah.
yeah.
Well, and there are big names who use fake identities. I mean, Elon uses Adrian Dittman.
I I made a couple of videos about that this morning.
uh,
It's as though you've read my mind. Yeah.
it's ridiculous. There's Brad Munkin himself is of the belief that Adrian Dittman is Elon Musk, even though they appear in spaces together at the same time.
Yeah, people tried to tell him, people tried to warn him, hey, you can follow a link to listen to a recorded Twitter space from months ago where both Elon Musk and Adrian Dittman are in a live call together with Elon laughing every time Adrian talks. You can tell it's Elon laughing, you can tell it's Adrian talking at the same time. So there, I mean, the idea was preposterous to begin with, that the world's busiest man, CEO of and figurehead of what, 5 companies, father to 10 plus children, is going to have time to host Twitter Spaces for hours a day, as Adrian Dittman does capably. He's one of the best there is in hosting Twitter Spaces, right? But yeah, with all kinds of conflicts, just very silly. The idea that one person could be doing both of those things every day.
And when they talk at the same time, it's very awkward and uncomfortable. And I go back to what Elon said about when Starman was launched and people said, "Oh, it's fake because you can't see the stars." It's like, well, the camera's looking directly at sunlight and stars are actually quite faint. If we
Yeah.
were going to fake it, we'd have made it look better.
Yeah, right. Yeah, very, very silly stuff
Very silly
uh,
stuff.
from Brad Munkin, but he never saw a Tesla Q conspiracy theory. He didn't immediately bite and fall for hook, line, and sinker.
On that one, I don't think he believed it. I think it was engagement farming. I think even he is smarter than that. I don't know who he is, but he seems to know to face the computer when typing. So he's got a couple enough brain cells to see through that one. But whatever, it's fine. What
Well,
is
I know who he is, and I'm not going to tell anybody. He has said before previously that he has a job where he talks to executives from other automakers. So that's the reason he wants to be anonymous.
and that would fit with the whole thing. That would if his job is in that industry, of course he's going to hate Tesla. But yeah, it's just so. What is the right approach to dealing with these people?
Well, far be it from me to give anybody advice on how to do it, and please don't copy my approach. Don't start a YouTube channel where you make fun of them. But yeah, I mean, there is a gentlemanly respect that I think you offer, and I try to offer anonymous accounts. The the ones that irritate me more are the ones like the quote unquote Brad Munkin account, because it's a fake name. That's a name that people see and believe is a real person. They think that there is actually a Brad Munkin using their real name. So I try to stress that. I've probably stressed it too much over the years in my videos that he's using a fake name. But I don't know. What tips do you have for folks?
I would just say recognize that they're anonymous and weight them accordingly in your assessment of their data. Grant Belden at least had the decency to use a fictional name from Silicon Valley. which is a step in the right
Uh,
direction.
so it was a little bit different name, wasn't it? The guy from Silicon Valley, the villain,
I
who
thought
did
it
the
was Grant
Signature
Belden.
series.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I like that
yeah,
signature. I
I
don't know
I
what it
want
is,
to say
something
it was
about
a.
it.
I want to say it was Grant, and it did start with a B, but I think it was a different last
Oh,
name. But I'll tell you a funny story about Grant Belden.
okay.
Since we mentioned the terms structurally bankrupt and structurally unprofitable before, I was making fun of that one day when Grant Belden tried to explain to me, the person hiding behind the fake name Grant Belden, tried to explain to me that those have different meanings and that I shouldn't use them interchangeably. And I said, please define them for me, Grant. And he said, no, I don't have time to explain that to you. You need to do some research. Start with this textbook. And he left me a link to a textbook that costs $75, I think. And I found a copy and read it and searched it. And nowhere in the textbook are the phrases structurally bankrupt or structurally unprofitable found.
Wow.
So he told me to educate myself on the very important, super legit business terms, structurally bankrupt and structurally unprofitable, by reading a textbook obviously he didn't read that never mentions either term.
And it wasn't just a homework assignment, it was an expensive one.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
terrible, terrible.
Well, I may have found a way to search that textbook without paying for it.
There's never been a way, so I think that claim is stretching. It strains credulity, James. So
Uh,
this is a lot of fun. We have fun with it. So guys, if you haven't checked out James Stephenson, I find that hard to believe, but whatever. I'll take your word for it. But now is as good a time as any to head on over to James, and he's on X at I cannot underscore enough, and he can't. He really can't. He does great work. He does work so good that even though his channel is not all that big, Martin Vieca reached out to him personally to say, hey, you should be my +1 for the big Cybertruck delivery event. Very exciting.
Even a blind squirrel finds an acorn every now and then.
And he gets a bunch of retweets from uh, Adrian Dittman.
Sure, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and Elon as
The
well.
alt account for Elon, Adrian Dittman. Adrian's going to see this video and laugh all the way through it.
I hope so, because it would sound like Elon laughing, and that gives me joy.
Yes.
So, what did we
Funny.
miss? What did we misunderstand? Leave it in them comments below. Everybody else, like, subscribe, do the usual things, and stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you, clever robots, on the Flippy Flop.